Long before the greatness of Egypt, before the heyday of Babylon, and before the emergence of Rome, between two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, the first great civilization of mankind was born. The Sumerians were the first to create cities, invent writing, develop laws, and even brew beer. Their mark on world history is so deep that we still live by their inventions without even suspecting it. The path of the Sumerians began back in the 4th millennium BC, when the first people began to settle in Mesopotamia, looking for fertile soil for agriculture. But the Sumerians did not just settle, they created the basis of everything that we call civilization today. Their history is fascinating and surprising, and if you like such incredible facts from the past, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There are many more fascinating stories ahead that will definitely surprise you. Even before Egypt built its pyramids, the Sumerians created the first large cities. From Uruk, which at its peak had over 50,000 inhabitants, to the glorious Ur, their settlements became the first real megacities of the ancient world. The narrow streets are bustling with activity. Grain, wool, ceramics, and even precious stones brought from far away are traded here. Sumerian cities were not just settlements. They had a complex system of governance, artisan quarters, and mighty temples. Uruk, for example, is considered the oldest city in the world. It was here, according to legend, that the famous Gilgamesh, the hero of one of the oldest epics of mankind, ruled. If the Sumerians created the first cities, what made them a real civilization? The answer is simple. They invented writing. As early as the end of the 4th millennium BC, Sumerian scribes began to make marks on clay tablets. At first, they were simple pictograms, drawings depicting objects. But over time, they evolved into a complex system of cuneiform writing, which could record not only numbers or names of goods, but also entire stories. Thanks to cuneiform, we know the stories of the Sumerian gods, records of trade, and even the laws by which these ancient people lived. What could be simpler than the wheel? But imagine a world without it. The Sumerians were probably the first to invent the wheel, first for the potter's wheel, and then for transportation. It was a real revolution. Thanks to this invention, carts became an important part of trade, and Sumerian craftsmen quickly realized that they could transport much more goods this way. Today, when you look at a watch, you see the Sumerian legacy. They were the first to develop a number system based on the number 60. From them we inherited the division of an hour into 60 minutes, a minute into 60 seconds, and a circle into 360 degrees. The Sumerians even studied the stars, compiling the first astronomical tables that became the basis for future scientific discoveries. Before Hammurabi introduced his famous laws, the Sumerian king Ur-Nammu, who ruled over 2,000 years BC, wrote one of the first law codes in the world. It clearly spelled out punishments for crimes, rules of inheritance, and the rights of people. The Sumerians believed that law should maintain order in society, and this became the basis for all future state systems. The Epic of Gilgamesh is not just a story. It is the first great literary work of mankind, written back in the 3rd millennium BC. It tells the story of a hero king who seeks immortality, fights monsters, becomes friends with the wild man Enkidu and loses him. It is a story about friendship, loss, the fear of death, and the search for the meaning of life, themes that concern people even today. The Sumerians believed that their gods lived in the heavens and built majestic ziggurats, giant step temples for them. The ziggurat at Ur, dedicated to the moon god Nanu, is one of the oldest religious structures in the world. It was over 100 feet high and had a massive staircase that priests climbed to the top to make offerings to the gods. Mesopotamia was fertile, but without irrigation it would have been difficult to grow crops. The Sumerians developed a complex system of canals and dams that allowed them to control the water. Thanks to this, they could grow barley, wheat, and even dates. Without this technology, their civilization would not have been able to survive for so long. Yes, the Sumerians not only built cities and wrote epics, they also brewed beer. In one of the texts, there is even a hymn to Ninkasi, the goddess of beer. Beer was so important that it was given out as wages to workers. They drank it through straws, because the drink left sediment. To manage cities, conduct trade, and conclude contracts, the Sumerians needed educated people. Therefore, they created schools, edebes, where they taught writing, mathematics, and management. These were the first educational institutions in the world. The Sumerian civilization disappeared, but its achievements remained. We write, read, calculate time, and even drink beer. All this began with them. They lit the first light of civilization, and it still burns today. What do you think is the Sumerian invention?